I became the male-led's wicked stepsister. By all accounts, I should be cautiously sucking up to him, trying to get on his good side. But come on, I'm the big sister here. When the weather turned hot, I kicked back and ordered, as naturally as breathing, "Go get me an ice cream, will you, Luke?" "Okay." When it got cold, I curled up under the covers and called out, "I'm craving strawberries, Luke." "All right." Years later, when he ruled the business world, the top-pinned contact in his phone was, "Beautiful, sis." When my mom married into the rich Dawson family with me in tow, everyone said she was hitting the jackpot. Luxury, wealth, endless privileges, all hers, and by extension, mine too. But I couldn't bring myself to celebrate. Not long ago, my memories finally came back. I was reincarnated into a domineering CEO novel. I was the evil little side character. And my mom? The ultimate villainess. For years, we tormented the future male lead, Luke Dawson. But once he rose to power, we ended up with nothing but a pitiful downfall. Damn it. I knew nothing good came out of getting slammed by a car, just an early death or a delayed one. But whatever. When the car reaches the mountain, there's always a way. When the boat gets to the bridge, well, it sinks eventually. "This must be Jessica Miller. Come say hi to little Luke." A warm voice pulled me from my thoughts. I turned to see Uncle Dawson's friendly eyes. Beside him stood a cold-faced little boy. He looked about 7 or 8, eyes downcast, body tense, like he was bracing for something. I hesitated. I was supposed to fawn over the male lead, cling to him for dear life. Maybe then I could avoid the coming tragedy. But right now, I was his sister. God knows I've always dreamed of having a loyal servant. No, wait, a handsome little brother. Thinking that, I walked right up to him, gave him a big bear hug, and greeted him with all the enthusiasm in the world. "Hi there, little brother. I'm your sister now. Looking forward to living with you." No one expected that. Not the 2 adults, not even the wary little boy. He just stood there, stunned. Slowly, he looked up and met my smiling eyes. Maybe I was seeing things, but the tips of his ears seemed a little red. He quickly shoved me away and muttered a cold, "Yeah." Uncle Dawson didn't seem too pleased with his attitude, but since we were all watching, he held back. My mom, on the other hand, gave Luke a lingering look. I knew exactly what she was thinking. Kill this kid, take all the inheritance, and laugh like a queen at the end. Classic villain behavior. But even if I was doomed to die young, I had no plans of ending up in prison. Before she could get any dangerous ideas, I tugged on her sleeve and asked Uncle Dawson, "Uncle, can I go see my room?" Uncle Dawson, "Of course you can." My room was on the 2nd floor, right next to Luke's. Once we closed the door, my mom crouched down to my level, smiling sweetly. "Jessica, this is your home now. I promise you're going to be the happiest little princess ever." My lips pressed together, emotions swirling in my chest. Yeah, she might be the evil stepmother in the story, but she was good to me. When I was young and my real dad hit me, she always held me tight and said sorry over and over. Even in the novel, everything she did was for me. Luckily, none of that has happened yet. I hugged her tightly and nodded. I'm so happy. And now I've got a cute little brother too." Her face shifted a little at the mention of Luke, but seeing how excited I was, she patted my head indulgently. "All right then, if you like him, be nice to him." I let out a breath of relief. Thank goodness. After exploring my massive 200 square meter princess room, I opened the door, only to find Luke standing right outside. His dark eyes met mine. He stood in the hallway, hand frozen mid-air, fingers curled like he was about to knock. When he saw me staring, he said in a low voice, "Dad said it's time to eat." I stared at his fluffy hair for a second, fighting the urge to ruffle it. Oh, okay. So obedient. I really wanted to mess with him. At dinner, Uncle Dawson announced he and my mom would be going on their honeymoon. She looked unsure at first, but after I gave her a big, "Go ahead, I'll be fine" smile, she agreed. The honeymoon was scheduled for next month. In the meantime, Uncle Dawson enrolled me in a fancy prep school. I was 3 years older than Luke. He'd be in first grade, I'd be in third. But lucky for me, it was summer break, so no classes for now. Once my mom and Uncle Dawson flew off to Bali, the only ones left at home were me, Luke, and the staff. But the housekeeper and maids usually kept their distance, leaving the huge villa feeling pretty empty. During this time, my mum was always nice to Luke. Every few days, I'd ask him to play with me. At first, he was guarded, but he gradually warmed up. One afternoon, I was sprawled on the living room couch in my pajamas watching TV. Luke was on the other end, reading a book. The vibe was pretty chill. I glanced at the cover of his book figures, a future male lead reading stuff more complicated than my life story. But never mind that. I peeked out the window at the scorching sun, crossed my legs, then turned to Luke and casually extended my evil sister claw. "Luke, go get me an ice cream." He froze at first, staring at me like I'd just spoken alien. His eyes practically screamed, "Are you talking to me?" I grinned, coaxing sweetly, "Pretty please. My darling little brother. Probably never met anyone as shameless as me." He hesitated. His pale face flushed a little, and he stammered, "Okay." He set his book down and quickly walked toward the kitchen. I slumped into the couch, watching his back with glee. Wahoo! Having a cute, obedient little brother is the best. A few minutes later, Luke came back with a matcha-flavored ice cream. But by then, his expression had returned to its usual chilliness. He held out the ice cream, stone-faced. "Here." He was still shorter than me, but somehow managed to carry himself with serious authority like a tiny grown-up. Then again, that wasn't surprising. In the story, Luke's mom died when he was very young. Uncle Dawson was always busy with work, barely involved in his life. That left their father-son relationship distant and cold. And once the stepmom entered the picture, things only got worse. Luke basically grew up walking on eggshells. But it didn't matter, he'd grow up strong eventually. Smiling, I took the ice cream from his hand. "Thanks, Luke." Hearing his name again, Luke froze for a second. He looked like he wanted to say something, but ended up turning away, returning to his seat and burying his face in his book, refusing to look at me. As I focused on unwrapping the ice cream, I caught him glancing at me once, then again. Was it just curiosity, or did he want this flavor too? I'd checked the freezer. Among the sea of popsicles and ice creams, this was the only matcha one. With that in mind, I scooted over and held the ice cream out to him. "Fine," I said reluctantly. "You can have a bite. Just one." As his big sister, I was being very generous. One bite for him, the rest was mine. My move caught him off guard. Before he could process it, he instinctively followed my words and took a small bite. "That's enough." I quickly pulled the ice cream back, retreated to the middle of the couch, and happily munched away at what was now entirely mine. The matcha flavor was rich and creamy, the milk perfectly blended, and the cone crunchy and satisfying. I ate and watched TV, completely oblivious to Luke. I didn't notice when, watching me eat the same ice cream he'd just bitten, his book slipped from his arms with a soft thud, and the tips of his ears turned bright red. I licked my lips, still wanting more, and turned to ask him for another, only to find his seat completely empty, a faint blur of human-shaped air left behind. I thought, it's not like I asked him to commit a crime. Why did he run off that fast? Over the next 2 weeks, Luke tried to morph into a snail and stay holed up in his room. But hey, same roof, sooner or later, we'd bump into each other. He tried to avoid me, but there was no escape. At first, he seemed awkward, staring at me in silence for a couple of seconds. But eventually, he gave in. Me. "Luke, call me when it's time to eat, okay?" Him. "Okay." Me. "Luke, come look, Does this dress look cute on me? Him. It's all right. Me. Luca, him. Haven't eaten yet. I got the ice cream. Should I bring it to your room? Me. Ma. That tiny figure was always flitting around the enormous villa. Sometimes, late at night, my last shred of conscience would give me a slight pang. But then I'd tell myself, my laziness only makes his diligence shine brighter, thinking that made me feel even better about it. After half a month of honeymooning, my mum and Uncle Dawson came home to find me and Luke building Lego sets together. Halfway through, I instinctively told him to grab me a bottle of water. But we weren't making progress with the build, and I was getting annoyed, so my tone came out a little sharp. Luke, go get me a bottle of water. He didn't say anything, just put down the bricks and stood up to go. But the moment he took a step, he froze. At the doorway, Uncle Dawson stood with his arm around my mom, beaming. Luke's eyes dimmed instantly. My mom, overhearing my tone, assumed things hadn't gone well between us. Her voice turned gloomy. Honey, I don't think Luke likes me or Jessica very much. I wonder if Jessica's been having a hard time lately. Uncle Dawson's expression changed immediately. Without hesitation, he snapped. What kind of attitude is that? Apologize to your Aunt Emily and your sister. Luke's face went pale the moment the words left his mouth. His hand, hanging at his side, clenched into a fist. My mom gave me a knowing look, clearly expecting me to play along. But I shook my head, grabbed Luke's hand, and pulled him behind me protectively. Mom, Uncle, you've got it all wrong. Luke's been really good to me, super sweet. I haven't been upset at all. I just wanted to boss him around a bit, never meant to throw him under the bus. My words startled not only my mum and Uncle Dawson, but even Luke behind me. Still, Uncle Dawson remained skeptical. He glanced at Luke, doubt written all over his face. But when he turned back to me, his voice softened. Jessica, you don't need to cover for him. That kid's always been difficult. He wouldn't even go get you a bottle of water just now. I cut him off, feeling a bit awkward. He was about to go. Lately, Luke had been doing whatever I asked. Even if he didn't say anything, I knew he was going. Uncle Dawson and my mom looked completely baffled. Uncle Dawson turned to Luke. Is that true? Luke's expression stayed flat. Yeah. Hearing him admit it, Uncle Dawson paused for a moment before saying, Jessica is your sister now. It's okay for you to listen to her. Luke didn't even blink. His whole being was wrapped in loneliness. After a long pause, he murmured, Got it. Only then did Uncle Dawson relax and start showing off the souvenirs they brought from Bali with my mum, making it seem like we really were a happy little family. As for Luke, no one noticed when he slipped back upstairs. Sure, the story had written him going through much worse, but after spending time with him, I couldn't stand seeing him mistreated. My chest ached. I set the gifts aside and asked, Uncle, with so many presents, which one's for Luke? The man paused, then replied indifferently, He's a boy, what would he even want gifts for? I was speechless. Great. No wonder Luke ruined the family company when he grew up. I'd thought about giving him some of the gifts, but then realized he might take it as showing off or pity, so I gave up. Still, because of what my mom said, I barely spoke to Luke until school started. Uncle Dawson was always busy and rarely home. My mom spent her time splurging on herself or on me. And my mission? Brainwash my mom. My ambitions weren't big, I just wanted to live a peaceful life with her. So I'd say things like, Mom, we're not here to break up this family, we're here to join it. My mom was stunned. Luke's my brother, which makes him your son. Isn't it great to gain a son without even giving birth? She hesitated but looked like she was considering it. I added the final push. Besides, when I get married one day, won't it be awesome to have a little brother to protect me? Using myself as bait, her hesitation disappeared in an instant. Got it. I finally let out a sigh of relief. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw a figure slip past the corner of the second-floor hallway. But when I looked up, nothing was there. Probably just my imagination. Soon, The new school term began. Since it was elementary school, the pressure wasn't too bad, and we got out early. As usual, I went to find Luke so we could go home together. But when I reached his classroom, I found him surrounded by a group of boys. Kids can be cruel, especially spoiled ones. One of them, clearly the ringleader, was sitting on the desk in front of Luke with designer sneakers worth thousands resting right on top of Luke's desk. He grinned and mocked. "So, Luke, now that your dad married a new wife, once they have another kid, they'll probably toss you aside, huh?" Another boy chimed in. "Yeah, I heard you've got a new sister too." "Ha ha ha, I bet you're too scared to go home now, huh? You loser." They laughed and jeered, expecting Luke to cry. But he, ever indifferent, slung his backpack on and calmly said, "Jason Smith, move." Jason narrowed his eyes, clearly annoyed. A flash of malice crossed his face, and suddenly, he shoved Luke hard. Luke instinctively dodged, and Jason, having pushed air, lost his balance and fell off the desk with a loud crash. With a thud, Jason landed flat on his back, limbs splayed out awkwardly. When he got up, his face had turned the color of liver, whether from pain or anger, no one could tell. He snapped, "How dare you dodge me?" and lunged at Luke. The others rushed in to help. Luke didn't stand a chance. 2 fists can't beat 4 legs. Just as they were about to throw punches, I dashed in, roaring like a lioness. "Stop it!" My voice froze them all, and they turned around, startled. I stood with hands on hips, channeling my inner adult, and waved my phone in front of them. "I recorded everything you said. Want me to show it to Uncle Dawson?" Jason finally snapped out of it. He looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. You're Luke's new sister." I raised an eyebrow. What else? Jason already knew he was in the wrong. Now that I was clearly siding with Luke, he shut up and slunk away with his crew. As they left, I caught him muttering, "Wasn't she supposed to hate Luke?" I ignored him. After the classroom emptied, I walked over to Luke, a bit of concern slipping into my voice. "Are you hurt?" Outside, the sun was setting, golden light spilling across the sky and reflecting in Luke's light-colored eyes. He stared at me, his voice still carrying a trace of childhood. "No." I finally relaxed. "Good. Let's go home." I naturally reached out and took his hand, heading toward the school gate. But before we made it far, he stopped walking. I turned back. He was rooted in place, his eyes swirling with emotion, like he was wrestling with something. His lips parted, and then he asked, "Why are you nice to me?" I paused. "That's what he calls being nice? Silly kid." I tightened my grip on his little hand and smiled gently. "Because I'm your sister now. In my book, I get to mess with my brother, but no one else is allowed to. If anyone dares hurt him, I'll come for them." His eyes trembled violently. After a long moment, he looked down and quietly squeezed my hand back. "Let's go, sis." "Huh? Did I hear that right?" That sweet, soft, little voice, so cute, so precious. I wanted to hear it on loop. I refused to move, pretending I hadn't heard. "What did you just call me?" Seeing me grin, Luke's face flushed bright red. "Forget it if you didn't hear." "Nope. Say it again," I insisted. Unable to escape my pestering, he noticed the mischief in my eyes, turned his head slightly, and suddenly shouted, "Sister!" I blinked, speechless. This brat. Did he have to yell it like that? After that day, Luke and I grew much closer. At home, thanks to my attitude, even my mum was treating him decently. But then she signed us up for all kinds of extracurriculars. Calligraphy, painting, piano were fine, but also sanda and judo. On top of that, she wanted us to hike 20 mountains a month. I trembled in silence. Did she think we were slowing down her quest for inheritance and decide to kill us both off? Thankfully, she had some restraint and didn't go at us directly, just passive-aggressively. After all, the line between accidents and death is thin. I could only smile weakly and say, "Thanks, Mom." Huh. Life has kneaded me like dough, soft, springy, and bouncy. Seasons changed, and just like that, 8 years flew by. Luke was now in his final year of middle school and had shot up in height. Once shorter than me, now he towered over me by more than a head. I suddenly realized my days of bossing him around were over just like that. Poof! I couldn't possibly take on a 6-foot-tall boy anymore. On the eve of his college entrance exams, during winter break, I came home one evening with my suitcase, and the first thing I saw was the tall, youthful figure of a boy sitting on the couch. His features had matured, baby fat long gone. His jawline was sharp and clean, still a little youthful, but already breathtaking. No wonder he was the male-led, the book's 100-word description didn't exaggerate. I fought the urge to pinch his cheeks, tossed my suitcase aside, rubbed my hands together, and grinned. Finally, break time! Nothing made a student happier than holidays. At my words, Luke turned slightly. He noticed my damp hair and looked toward the window. It was drizzling outside. I hadn't bothered with an umbrella, just ran straight in. Luke pressed his lips together, got up, and went to the bathroom. Moments later, he returned and tossed a towel onto my head. Dry off. I blinked in confusion. He's not as sweet now that he's older. But no matter, I doubled down. I leaned toward him like I used to and coaxed. "Lukey, help me dry it." Luke had just picked his book back up and was about to turn a page. His fingers froze. His Adam's apple bobbed. He turned to me, speechless. "Jessica, I'm not a kid anymore. Don't call me Lukey." Look at that! This punk was calling me by my full name now. My inner rebel kicked in, and I went full force. "Lukey! Lukey! Lukey! Lukey!" By the third time, he cracked. Slamming his book down, he grabbed the towel. "Fine, I'll do it," I grinned victoriously. Hey. But soon, I couldn't laugh anymore. My mom walked out, and the moment she saw me, her beautiful eyes went wide. "Jessica, what happened to your hair? You look like a chicken nest." Huh? Chicken nest? I belatedly reached up to feel my head. Luke had messed up my hair completely. I was instantly furious. But when I looked up, the boy had already dashed several meters away, relying on those long legs. If you looked closely, you could see the corners of his lips curled up, his eyes bright with amusement. Gone was the gloomy edge from the original plot. He was vibrant, playful now. But that didn't mean I'd let him off the hook. "Luke!" I shot after him, roaring. "Get back here. I'm gonna flatten you." My mum and Uncle Dawson looked helpless, though clearly used to this. "Mom, they're just kids playing around." "Uncle Dawson, let's eat without them. They're probably not hungry." Luke and I both looked dumbfounded. In the end, his carefully styled hair ended up looking like a chicken's nest. I was fuming, while he laughed so hard his chest shook. But once we got to the dining room and saw there was barely any food left, his smile disappeared. He glanced at me and offered, "Want to go out to eat?" I didn't hesitate. "You're buying." He raised an eyebrow. "Deal." So the two of us put on hats and headed out. By the time we got back, it was almost 10. He carried my suitcase to my room and, seeing how I kept yawning, his expression softened. "Go to bed early." I was half asleep already and waved him off. "You're dismissed," Luke chuckled. "Yes, Your Majesty." It was rare to see him play along so well. I glanced at him again, and my heart began to stir with mischief. So obedient, I really wanted to bully him. Too bad he's too big now. With that regret in mind, I fell asleep. The next morning, I was hit by a wave of laziness. I stayed wrapped in my blanket, refusing to get up. Sometime during the morning, it began to snow. Outside the floor to ceiling windows, everything was covered in white. The branches and rooftops were dusted, and whenever something moved, snow would fall in little puffs. I lay there for ages, until my stomach growled. I dragged myself up, washed up, and had breakfast. Luke had probably already eaten and hadn't left his room. After breakfast, I went straight back to bed and started scrolling on my tablet. It was strawberry season. Big Data knew me well. Within minutes, I saw 3 strawberry videos, one devouring fresh berries, one making strawberry cake, and one showing a bouquet made entirely of strawberries. I liked them all. I remembered we had strawberries at home, but it was way too cold to get out of bed, so I called Luke. He picked up quickly. "Hello?" I whined. "Luke, I want strawberries. Oh, and bring up a bottle of milk too." His voice was a little hoarse. "There's some downstairs." "Get it yourself. I'm not feeling well." I was so focused on strawberries, I blurted out the next part without thinking. "You're not feeling well? Then wear a mask when you come up." Silence. My brain finally caught up to what I'd just said. I scrambled for a way to fix it. On the other end, he coughed once, clearly gritting his teeth. "Wait there." I had no idea how to respond. Oh my God, what kind of angelic little brother was this? I got my strawberries, sure, but he ended up running around in thin clothes and his cold got worse. Out of guilt, I took care of Luke for over a week, but every time he looked at me, there was this quiet resentment in his eyes. Sigh. It was all the strawberries' fault. I only made the same mistake any foodie would make. When Luke finally recovered, it was just a few days before the New Year. I volunteered to take charge of the New Year shopping and went with him to the supermarket. Honestly, over the years, my favorite time had become the New Year. I used to have no family, and my strongest memory of New Year's Eve was watching red lanterns swing alone in the streets. Barely anyone around, the scene cold and desolate. While somewhere I couldn't see, others were celebrating together, warm and whole. But now, I finally had a place in that world. I was lost in thought when Luke waved a hand in front of my face. "What are you thinking about? Want to get another box of strawberries?" "Huh?" I snapped out of it and looked into the cart. There were already 2 large boxes of strawberries inside. I declared, "Nope, I want cherries." "Luke, okay." I looked up and met his gentle eyes. Warmth flooded my chest. Who would have thought a villainess like me could get along so well with the male lead? I thought I was done with the plot for good. But as we walked out of the supermarket and just finished loading things into the car, a black car parked nearby suddenly opened. A tall, strong man rushed straight at us. It all happened so fast. Even though Luke and I had trained for years, these guys were quick. They clamped hands over our mouths and dragged us into the car. I barely struggled before everything went dark. When I came to, I was blindfolded, trapped in pitch black. It was suffocating. Instinctively, I called out, "Luke, are you here?" Meanwhile, my mind was racing. I vaguely remembered a kidnapping scene in the original plot. My mom orchestrated it with Dawson's rivals to make Luke disappear for good. Thankfully, Luke fought his way out and returned home. From that point on, he finally saw my mum's true face. But what was going on now? Was my mum actually trying to get rid of both of us? That was impossible. Even if Dawson went bankrupt, my mum would never hurt me. Just as I was stressing out, I heard a familiar voice beside me. "Don't be scared. I'm here." From the sound of it, he seemed fine. I let out a breath of relief. My ears twitched, no one else seemed to be nearby. My brain kicked into gear. Speaking just loud enough for him to hear, I said, "Scoot over a bit." He did as told. I rubbed my face against his shoulder, trying to slide the blindfold off. He grunted. I froze. "Are you hurt?" He took a moment to steady his breath. "No." My rubbing shifted the blindfold slightly, and I finally saw our surroundings. His eyes were still covered. Against his fair skin, the black cloth stood out starkly. His nose was high, his lips a soft red. My heart fluttered. Damn, this guy is seriously handsome. The future female lead is one lucky girl. But I had no time to dwell on that. I looked around. We were probably in an abandoned warehouse. Wind howled through broken windows. Outside, I could vaguely hear voices. Someone was making a phone call. A rough voice said, "Mr. Tony, I've got your kids. Which one do you want to save? 50 million per person. Don't blame us if things get ugly. Do you want them back whole or in pieces?" The call cut off abruptly, and my heart sank. If I remembered correctly, the Dawsons only had 50 million in liquid assets right now. Luke clearly realized it too, though his expression remained calm. He even tried to comfort me. "Don't worry, you'll be fine." I stayed silent, not knowing what to say. The plot had gone full circle. But then, unexpectedly, my mom actually spoke up. "Fine, 100 million, right? We'll take both. Don't hurt them." My heart began to race. In that moment, my love for Mom reached its peak. A clean trade cash for kids. When my mom and stepdad showed up at the abandoned factory, the kidnappers' leader looked at them coldly. The money in the account yet? They had given an offshore account. Once the transfer was made, it couldn't be traced. My mom's face was calm. "I want to see the kids first." The kidnappers exchanged looks, then had two men bring us out. When I saw my mom's familiar face, my eyes burned. She scanned Luke and me to make sure we weren't hurt, then said, "Let them go, and we'll transfer the money." Luke's gaze stayed fixed on my mom. Confusion, doubt, and then gratitude flashed through his eyes. The kidnappers stared at us a while longer but refused to budge. They insisted the money come first. I narrowed my eyes. My hands, hidden behind my back, had already untied the rope. I looked at Luke. In the next second, I slammed my elbow back. The guy holding me yelped and let go. I shot Luke a look, then kicked back hard. Good thing Mom had made us learn all sorts of skills, finally paying off. Luke moved fast, too. He broke free in a flash. Just as we reached Mom's side, sirens blared. The kidnappers' faces changed instantly. "You'll regret this," they shouted. They tried to flee, but Mom and my stepdad came prepared. With the bodyguards and police working together, they caught them all on the spot. "Mom!" I threw myself into her arms. Her brows furrowed slightly as she glanced at Luke and me. "Let's go home." Beside me, Luke was quiet for a moment, then suddenly looked straight at her. "Mom, thank you." It was the first time he'd called her that. My mom's eyes flickered, a gentle smile rising on her lips. Good boy. After we got back, I learned that the kidnappers were from a rival company of the Dawsons. Their funds were drying up, so they gambled everything on this move. What they didn't expect was that Mom had installed GPS trackers in everything we used. Even the little charm on my hair tie had one. So when my mom and stepdad followed the kidnappers' winding directions to the warehouse, the police were already in place. The whole thing had been staged. After giving our statements, it was New Year's Eve. Snow fell outside, but inside, the house was warm and bright. We all ate together. I gnawed on a drumstick, chomping away. Luke gave me a helpless look and handed me a drink. "Slow down. I'm not going to steal your food." Mom shot me a glare. "Learn from Luke. At least he eats like a civilized person." Me. Okay. Yep. Love doesn't disappear. It just gets redirected. Everyone laughed. After dinner, Tony Dawson, usually so strict, handed both Luke and me red envelopes, equally thick. Luke glanced at his, eyes flickering, and quietly accepted it. Later, back in our room, he split his envelope in half and handed me a stack of cash. I stared, stunned. "You don't need it." Luke replied casually, "To buy you stuff." Ah, just a tiny bit happy. Life went on peacefully. I crushed the college entrance exam and got into a university. Luke made it into a top high school. We lived in different cities, chatting only occasionally over WeChat. Me. "Luke, do you still have enough living expenses?" Luke. "Yeah." My eyes lit up. I was just about to launch into a long paragraph when Luke transferred 9,999. "Luke, is that enough?" I stared at the 4-digit number, speechless. Who has a brother this amazing? Oh, right, it's me. Ha 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 ha. I was smitten. Wow, Luke, you're the best. Love you so much. Luke took his time typing a reply. Finally, as long as you're happy. I let out a squeal like a prairie dog. That was life for the next 3 years. When I was about to finish junior year, it was time for Luke's college entrance exam. My mom and stepdad were away on business trips. Oh, I forgot to mention, over the years, my mom had built her own company with the Dawsons' support. It was thriving now. She said she only felt secure when the money was in her own hands. I was genuinely happy for her. On the day of Luke's exam, I made a special trip home to take him there. Before he entered the test center, I helped him double-check his admission ticket and supplies. After confirming everything, I handed it to him. Relax. You've got this. 3 years had passed. Luke now stood at 6'1", and with those striking looks, he stood out like a star in the crowd. Hearing me, he looked down slightly, his eyes resting on me. He smiled faintly, voice deep and smooth. Okay. Then he paused. You look really good in that chipao. I didn't think much of it at the time, and beamed. Of course! I picked it out just for today. Now go ace that test. Afterward, I'm taking you out to celebrate. The college entrance exam lasted 2 days. On the final day, he was the first to walk out. The moment I saw him, my eyes lit up and I was about to rush forward, but someone beat me to it. A reporter swooped in with a mic. Student, now that exams are over, what's the first thing you want to do? Through the crowd. His eyes locked straight on mine. He smiled softly. Celebrate with my sister. Maybe it was just my imagination, but the way he said sister made my ears burn a little. Me? This kid really knows how to flirt. We went out for a huge meal. Since I'd been the one to suggest the celebration, I paid. When the bill came, my heart hurt. Damn, that boy could eat. By the time we got home, it was late. I was a little drunk, leaning on Luke as he helped me through the door. I collapsed onto the couch. He sighed. Don't sleep yet. I'll go make you some hangover soup. Drink it before bed. Me. Okay. Then I immediately fell asleep. Don't know how long I was out, but when I woke up, still groggy, his face was inches from mine. He held out a bowl of soup. Drink this first, he said, exasperated. I sipped the soup sleepily. The warm light hit his clean-cut profile just right. I grabbed his arm, grinning. When I get married, you'll come with me, right? He stiffened. What? I teased. Be my wedding maid. Luke's face darkened instantly. He yanked his arm away and stormed upstairs without looking back. Halfway up, though, he came back and tossed a blanket over me. Me. Seriously, I could cry. Later, Luke graduated and started his own company. His business talent quickly made waves. In just a few years, he became a rising star in the industry. One day, after a meeting, he was heading to his office when his phone rang. His assistant glanced at it and saw the pinned contact name, Beautiful Sister. Who would believe that a corporate powerhouse was a total siscon at home? Hey, I made him change it. Luke had protested, but I forced him to do it anyway. When he picked up, his voice was calm and steady. What's up? I was staring at a ridiculous blind date across from me, and after a moment of silence, I said with a straight face, Babe, come pick me up. Babe? No time to explain, I just replied. What? Isn't my brother my babe too? On the other end, Luke paused, eyes darkening. He chuckled softly. Okay, wait for me.